The planet is not only in a climate crisis, but it's also in a biodiversity crisis. So we have 1 million species that are already facing a risk of extinction. We have about 25% of the total land area globally that's been already degraded. And we have 2/3 of tropical rainforests on Earth that are gone or already degraded. And at the same time, you could say, so what does that matter? Well, 50% of GDP, and some even say higher, but WEF say 50% of GDP is actually dependent on nature's ability to provide ecosystem services, such as fresh water into the manufacturing of products. But as you see on the slide, what science tells us is that 47% of ecosystem services are in decline. So nature is becoming much less capable of offering these services to companies. The world is really waking up. The political leaders are waking up. As you see on the slide here, the picture is from the end of 2022, when the Global Biodiversity Framework, or the Kunming-Montreal Agreement, was adopted. So it's the equivalent for nature, as we have the Paris Agreement on climate change. But for nature, it's not just one goal as we have in climate, which is the 1.5 degree benchmark. In nature and that convention, we actually have 4 goals and 23 targets. So it's a much bigger lift in that sense. And that also means that the business models that generates profit on nature negative activities will increasingly face transition risks due to regulation, because of the convention needs to be implemented nationally. And of course, that will transmit to financial service institutions. And to mitigate such incoming transition risks, FIs will need to align portfolios and loan books to stop financing of nature loss by 2030. That's what the convention says. And then to turn the financing into only nature positive or aligned with nature in 2050. The thing with ANCOR, of course, is that you get your impacts and dependencies related to this sectors, the subsectors, and the production processes, but they're not geolocation specific. They're science-based, and therefore they're based on sector averages. So you will need to then, so you only get a hotspot. You get these 5 impact drivers, you get these number of dependencies that you need to further drill down to and really complement with geolocation specific data. So then if it's a dependency on soil health or on water provisioning, so this is groundwater, then you need to understand which businesses am I investing in, or where does my supply chain interface with areas or watersheds where the groundwater is in a state of stress. The main value added of ANCOR is really the materiality ratings of the dependencies and impacts, because that's what the CSRD, TNFD all ask you to do, is to rate from an exposure in terms of what's your assets under management to in a specific sector, but then also what's the materiality rating of that nature-related dependency or impact. So that's the real value added of ANCOR. It's not only that it can filter from sectors, which dependencies and impacts do you need to look at, but really help you to materiality rate them. Everybody can get started. I mean, you all have your sector exposure. You all have your sector exposure on your supply chain or in your loan book or in your portfolio. And then at least you can get your understanding of you can develop a heat map. So you can get started to understand what's your most material impacts and dependencies. And just as Daniel said, then it's around collaborating within your organization, finding the expertise to drill down into those most material and translate them into proper risks, or start to understand and have a dialogue around how do you do that. So I think everybody can do something. Also in the short run, I think would be, you don't need to be a conservationist or a deep expert. I think we need more with a financial mindset and connecting this to finance.